say connection with football, I met very people, you know, on my full badge, FA badge, when a few came on the advanced course. Robson was in my group, and he was a great chap with that. And I met some great people. There was Jackie Charlton came to Doncaster, because I also was secretary of the Coaches Association in Doncaster, which was very good, and we had a number of people going from there. And he came, I got him to come over. Great chap. I remember at that time, we didn't know where we were going to meet again. We couldn't tell him definitely, but I picked him up at a pub in Doncaster, took him to the place. He gave a wonderful lecture and talk on coaching, and then I took him back to the hotel, this hotel where he got his car left. And I remember saying to him, how much? He says nothing. And he'd come home right from Middlesbrough, from there, Ashington. So that was a wonderful experience. Got some wonderful chaps. Hennigan was a good chap that came along and helped with everything, whenever he won. Pete Gumby, he was a Leeds man through and through from birth, and he would always come and give help and so forth. I had a lot of great chaps there. I can't think of any, you know, where there were any difficulty. There were school teachers, there were people working in jobs and all sorts of things. And they didn't ask about money. They came because they wanted to do something in football. That was a great thing. They wanted to football. They come for nothing, they would, if need be, for the fact that they were connected with Leeds United or anything else like that.
Do you remember Paul Eckingbottom? Did you do his level badges or any of that?
Paul Eckingbottom, he came, and we fancied him very much. He was in big demand, but Sheffield had got hold of him.
How did they?
Ways that happened out a lot in football.
Yeah. He's at Sheffield United now.
Yeah, that's right. I played him quite there. The parents were, he's going to Sheffield, so if you're born and bred in a place and sat there, it's difficult, and you can understand it if there's home. It depends on the home and what's going on, that's all right. You must have the parents backing you up and things like that when they come in as schoolboys.
Mm.
Well, we first of all had to develop them locally. We had scouts who just dealt with the local people, and they were paid expenses, paid a standard wage, short wage for their work in Leeds. Well, that wasn't sufficient to me, and we realised they've got to go out. We wanted wide extension out of Leeds. Originally we were only getting recruitment from the Leeds area. With that I then put them on to travelling expenses, so they now went straight out, going out to distances, and that's when we brought them from Hull, like the goalkeeper Paul Robinson, and also then we went down into Sheffield and places like that, and gathered a lot of players from there, and also went and then internationally then to countries like Kuhl.
Do you want to talk a bit about Paul Robinson? Do you remember much about him?
I remember Paul Robinson, because this was quite an interesting one, and I heard him on the television the other night, the morning rather, talking about players, and I was quite surprised because he's now a retired chappie and he spoke very well indeed, and I had to go to his school at that time. Many of the people I had to see the head teachers, and I went to Beverley to see his head and spoke about, I wanted Paul to come, and he said, yeah, you can have him, but he's a rugby player and I want him as a rugby player. And I went to him and said, well, a rugby player being a goalkeeper, hey, there's a good chance here. And I said, look, he will play for your school every Saturday whenever you need him. We will have him in the holidays when he's released, when he's free. And the head said, I'm quite happy about that. We shook hands and left good friends.
Harry Cool, do you remember him from Australia?
Yes, that's right. From where, sorry?
Australia, is he from?
Australia, that's right, yes. He was actually recommended to us, and he came over, and Everton were after him at the time, and Howard put him in a game, a practice match. He says, he's good, this lad. I said, right, well, we better get him now. So he said, you're playing next Saturday. And that's how Howard got them. He nipped in straight away. We'd done the work with his parents and so forth like that, because we used to keep always contact with parents and hear from them there.
Next one, Jonathan Woodgate.
Jonathan Woodgate, yes. Interesting about Jonathan, his parents brought him regular every week from Middlesbrough. He was still at school, and he never missed a training session. His parents spoke quite often with me about him, and he came down and he was signed straight away as a good lad. But interesting was that he came as a wing back, and there's something about him, he could get, he lacked a little bit of pace at that time, and he went centre half, and that's it, where he's followed up with England and so forth. So it's good, yeah. It was a very good relationship, and his parents were very good. Never missed a training session, did he. Good contact. It was Jerry that put me, he was very, very fanatical about Leeds, and came over, and I met him, and we talked about it, and then we got a player out there, immense player, and so I travelled over to Ireland and brought up like these players. I met up with them there. The parents were extremely valuable in many cases, and funny enough, it was namely the mother that pressed the cross. We could see that they wanted to go to somewhere where they would be safe and so forth, and go. So we brought them over from there, and a lot of them went into digs in a house in just north of Leeds, I think it was. Forgot the name of them. They were a wonderful family, mother, this bloke and his wife, and he kept strict discipline on them, with freedom, and if any problems, he dealt with it on the boys and things like that. It was good. So we built up a good relationship there, and most of the lads from Ireland came from over there. Took 1 or 2 trips, but I kept going over and meeting people, and they were very helpful.
Do you remember some of the players? Alan Mabry, Stephen McPhail, Gary Kelly, Ian Hart. Do you remember any of them?
Yes. Which was the first one?
The first one, Alan Mabry.
Alan Mabry, yes. He was a quiet lad there, and a good lad from Ireland. He got an international draw. Yeah. He's quite good, yes.
Ian Hart.
Ian Hart was again another lad from there. We got quite a number of, about 3 or 4 players from there who were quite good.
Brilliant.
We had players who, Howard Wilkinson made his own team, and there were about 14 or 15 players in that group that we had at one time, and some went to other clubs. Most of them had a game for Howard. He played them, a number of them in the first team. He got his team plus like Ferdinand and 2 or 3 experienced players, and he played the youngsters as well. And it's amazing how many, about 14 or 15 players in that year groups, how they played. Some played international football like Cure and so forth like that. And what they call it, Woodgate, again, and other players. And what was Cure? There was a young goalkeeper from Ireland we had, but he failed in the end for height, and he went in the group singing, actually. I forgot now, what's his name? Jeez. Rebel. I know he had a group singing, very popular with that, but he was too. He hadn't got the height for goalkeeping. It was good. No, I think that lucky. I think we had really good scouts, a great number really, who would just do it because they wanted it, and they were really good in that way. And they got good players and had good the people who you'd put anywhere from that. And some of them would come and do some coaching when we had them. Of course, we had sometimes taken over High Mountain for a week or that place, and some of them would come and give their. And I know that we had our own chap, a chap called Ernest Sargison, and he came and took in the England side eventually. But what he was the trainer, the medical trainer for Armthorpe, a team out here, and he also was the first aid man. He worked in the pit on the shafts, and he was the first aid man on there, so we had a medical, and he was such a nice bloke. I got him in Yorkshire. He came to Yorkshire and England team as the medical man. That's right. He was a marvellous man, was Sarge, in many ways, and kept contact with him, lovely bloke. He's one that I would say that you pick out from the pit when he does your work, and he does a marvellous, and he was through to bits.
So, to finish off, Grandad, what would you say, how would you recap your career in coaching? What would you say you love the most about it? Just to recap.
Well, I think the great thing about it is I was involved not just in the coaching and helping to run a team. I think everything's been marvellous. You know, when I went on the football courses, which were there meeting, you met the professionals, top professionals. You go again then, the number of people who gave you a week at High Melton and so forth like that for schools there. I mean, we had that for a number of years, High Melton. It was for schoolboys, and we often picked up a lad up from there. No trouble, boarding and everything. That's good. And the people still talk about High Melton, but it was a group of people that ran it, not just me. I ran the coaching and got set up things like, but people took over the secretary's job and all that business. It was teamwork, right the way through, having the right people. Odd one might get, but you're not as you wanted, but it went out all right. They were good people. Yeah, I'll tell you about one of the best players, Alan Smith.
Yeah.
And this is his story too. Alan Smith was still at school, sort of thing, and the Football Association started a national school at Lillish Hall on selected players, young players from there. And Alan Smith went across there. He was picked for it out of it, which was quite an achievement for him, from Leeds United as well. And I remember Alan coming home, and he was upset. He said, I don't feel I want to go back. I said, well, don't. I said, your club's there. If you feel you want to still be at home, you have to do what's best for it. If you've given it a good trial, do what you think for your parents. And I said, you've got a good home. So he came home, and then he did get in international trials with Alan. He was a good player, very good player.
Very good player.
Yes.